Qualifying about to get underway here at the Hockenheim ring for the GT4 European Series powered by Rafa Racing Club. And as you would anticipate, it is an enormous grid of cars. They're still pouring down the pit lane from the assembly area, ready for the first of the two 20-minute segments. There'll be the short break in between, driver change, and then they go again for the second part. And as ever, finding clear track space is going to be hugely important. Yesterday started wet, it dried. We've had a little bit of activity this morning that's put some rubber down, but conditions are ideal. It's dry, it's sunny, it's warm, and the forecast is that it's going to get even hotter over the course of the weekend. The GT4 cars will race at the end of today. They'll race again tomorrow morning, and as ever we have the three classes to look for, with Silver, Bronze and Pro-Am, which is being headed by Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amont, ahead of Antoine Leclerc. Loic Villiger comes next, ahead of Markus Lundstrass and Loris Stegman, Hendrik Still and Max Kronberg next in the standings. It's been a busy start to the season for the GT4 European Series teams. Some, of course, do other championships, but they have Valencia and Zandvoort still to come before the new non-championship 6-hour race at Vallelonga at the end of the season. And many of the teams from this and the French Championship, and indeed the ADAC's German series, all looking to go and do battle for a pucker endurance race. Silver is where you can anticipate the overall winner to come from. Gabriele Piana and Michael Schrei are heading Berke Besler and Tom Edgar, winners at Misano. Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani, who led both races in Italy but came away winless, are next, ahead of Etienne Gilly and Antoine Potti, with Marc de Florencio and Marcel Lennert next in the classification. And bronze this year has been rather dominated by the solo driver, although for the purposes of this weekend, switching, I think, to be with a co-driver, Alban Varuti, but he's had likewise a very successful year and is way clear, like 82 points up the road from Alain Ferté and then Laurent Hergon, with Kevin Jimenez and Florian Grisot next, ahead of the experienced Nicky Leutweiler and Ivan Jacoba. So pit lane is almost full to bursting as we await the cars ready to venture out on track for what's going to be a very busy session indeed. There you can see plenty of Porsches, plenty of the Mercedes AMG GT4s as well, and finding clear track space is going to be very important indeed. Some of the savvy teams will perhaps have been watching how 41 GT3 cars attempted to do it earlier on, but again, if you want to be out first, well, you need to be on your toes. That might work, but of course, as you're starting a flying lap, so others are still being released from the pit lane. So constant traffic management will be a major factor. One or two that weren't perhaps at the front of the queue, trying to get their elbows out and join in. Yesterday, they had the free practice and pre-qualifying sessions. Luc Ibanez was fastest in free practice, did a 1 minute 51.5, and then it was Nikolai Muller-Madsen on a 1:47, who was the fastest in FP2, which these days is now called pre-qualifying, just in case anything should mean that the qualifying session could not take place. Then you have a grid. But Nikolai Muller-Madsen, you can anticipate to be very rapid indeed when he is behind the wheel of the car. Number 12 there, which is the BMW that Tom Edgar and Berke Besler share, went really well at Misano, and Tom Edgar did a great job of being able to hold off the traffic right to the very end of that race. Berke Besler is due to go first as the field prepares to make its way down the pit lane, and then, as I say, we will be in business very shortly indeed to get the session underway. Overall victories, well, it was Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani at Monza, shared with Michael Schrei and Gabriele Piana. At Paul Ricard, it was the Spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin, Konstantin Lachnauer, victorious there, sharing with Florian Weyrich. The second race, Antoine Potti and Eric Shelley, Benjamin Lessen and Ricardo van der Ende guested at Spa and had a win, as did Antoine Potti and Eric Shelley. And it was BMWs, like I said, Besler and Edgar, Schrei and Piana, who were victorious at Misano. So, green flag waved. Drivers now make their way out on track. And 20 minutes will soon rattle through, that is for sure. So, as ever, you need to try desperately to find yourself that clear road that is going to be all important to putting the car onto pole position. One or two just lagging back, waiting perhaps for others to put some rubber down and to see whether they can get away with one run towards the mid or end of the session rather than going to do two. If they can take advantage of going out later when others are coming in for a tyre swap, then it might play dividends. But you can see now more and more of the drivers on track, but all of them lagging back at the Spitzkehrer hairpin, trying to let the car ahead go, and then when they speed up, they aren't going to get boxed in the traffic. So qualifying does become a bit of a lottery. A, they're very short sessions. B, there are lots of cars. And C, the traffic management, therefore, is utterly crucial. McLarens with the 570S in abundance, adding to Audi, to Aston Martin, to Porsche, BMW, amongst others. McLaren with its own championship here this weekend, and indeed celebrating 60 years to the date that the McLaren company was founded. So not the lap they're completing, maybe not even the one after will give us the start of seeing what lap times are like, but we will get there in this first session. And then the drivers pit, there's the little break in between, they put the second driver in, and then we go again with the grid for tomorrow's race. And already we've got one driver being investigated for potentially speeding in the pit lane, which is the Julian Rodriguez Audi. So the drivers up then towards the end of the outlap and onto the start of a flying lap. And now we'll see who can do what. But straight away, number 67, which is the first car across the line, the Paul Petit, Marc Lopez Audi, hardly picks up pace, still trying to get warmth into the Pirelli tyres, and as a consequence of all of that, keeping people boxed up behind. So Michael Schei is at the wheel of number 2 BMW, Benjamin Lariche in the Audi, Marc de Fulgencio drives his Mercedes, the British driver Jamie Day for Mirage. Aston Martin, Antoine Potty will be one to watch in number 8 Toyota. Julien Piguet, incidentally, is bailed, so perhaps that's a clever thing. Rather than driving around in the traffic, get out of the traffic, let other people work through their programme, and you adopt yours accordingly. Maybe take advantage at that halfway point when people come in, possibly for a new set of boots. Number of the drivers, as ever, those that we are familiar with seeing in GT4, some from GT3 as well, others from other categories over the years, but illustrating the strength of GT4 racing is just how big an entry this is. Also, it's becoming ever more international because there should be the WNS Motorsport Porsche of the two Americans, Dakota Dickerson and Taylor Hagler, this weekend. Car number 32, which I don't think is yet out on track. There are a few taking their time, but we will shepherd them out in due course. Bailey Voisin, another driver to watch, returning to the series for GPA Racing, having been very good for United Autosports a few years ago, winning the Silver Championship. So Benjamin Lariche will do a good lap this time, but Antoine Potty has done the target in the Toyota, the Supra GR 156.775 from Paul Kaupe in the little Alpine. So now lap times starting to come, and so the order shuffled accordingly. So 83 done for pit lane speeding. Fastest lap of the session is going to be deleted. 83 being Julian Rodriguez at the wheel of the Audi. So wherever he is in the times, he loses the best lap. That's the instant decision of the stewards. And at the moment, 6th, but little good will that lap time do him. Well, Calpe's Alpine heads towards the end of a lap, and he's got a chunk of time to find at the moment. But don't read too much into the start-up laps. Dakota Dickerson is on track. So also, I think, is Antoine Leclerc. Yes, he should be quick in this section of the session. Ivan Jacoma in his Cayman has gone out. Now, Josh Rattican, British driver, shares with Tom Ensign. That car ought to be quick. And yes, Josh Rattican has gone out. And so also, making his GT4 European Series debut, Tom Leben, who was a Ginetta Junior champion and very quick in the GB3 single-seater series, and he joins Eddie Ives' Elite Motorsport squad in GT4 terms for this weekend. It'll be one to watch, I think. Josh Rattican, though, has already done, and there he is, the absolute best in the first sector. He has done a personal best in the middle, another driver that's come out of the Ginetta Junior School of Hard Knocks up towards the timing line then, and goes 3rd fastest. So it's Paul Calpe from Paul Petit from Josh, call me Paul Rattican. And he did a 1:47.8. This is Julien Richet, currently 20th fastest, and has got the road just about to himself at the moment as he comes up towards the stadium. Can be abused, laps can be lost. But Richet looking okay as Kevin Jimenez, graduate of the Renault Clio series, comes through. He drives for Clio star David Pouget's GPA racing team. Paul Petit now goes quickest ahead of Josh Rattican. Marc de Florencio is 3rd, Andreas Bachmann 4th. Victor Weyrush now goes fastest by 66 thousandths of a second. And here is number 13 Porsche, which is the car of Tano Neumann and Joachim Bolting, the Overdrive Racing entry. Up towards the line and goes through. Paul Calpe then back to the top of the times in the Alpine. And what can Josh Rattican do? Well, he's fallen down to 6th fastest, but the McLaren looks good. Heads now towards the line. Jamie Day in the Aston, the British driver, goes fastest, 1:47.3. Now, although he'll lose the lap time, Julian Rodriguez is the fastest, 1:47.354. Henrik Still up at turn 5, the Spitzkehrer hairpin out of the Parabolica, that very, very fast section. Looking at, in a GT3 car, first gear for the hairpin, but Henrik Still absolute best in the first sector. Josh Rattican the fastest, 1:46.9. Gets himself up to the top. Julian Rodriguez 2nd fastest, but will lose the lap time, and he's also at the moment the fastest in AM. So you've got Silva from AM, and the leading Pro-Am is Sacha Bottomount, 6th overall. Ivan Ekhelchik now up to 3rd fastest, number 94 Porsche that he shares with the very quick Nikolai Müller-Madsen. So if Ekhelchik can be up there, that's good news. Now heading Pro-Am is Antoine Leclerc, up to 2nd overall. Henrik Still, however, who is way, way back in the times, 35th, is about to offer up a stunning lap because he's done 2 purples and there's nobody ahead of him. So as long as he's the right side of the white line and doesn't abuse the track limits, this ought to put Henrik Still up onto pole position. Runs it wide, coming out of turn 17, breaks the beam and goes onto pole position. Henrik Still, 1:46.398, half a second quicker than Jamie Day. You're looking at, he is 6th now. Josh Rattican down to 2nd, Victor Weyrush is 3rd. Jamie Day 6th, and the Mirage ran Aston Martin. Very wide and a bit sideways as well at 16, but I think he just about caught that. Comes up towards the line in the Feline Fields car. The Aston on the prowl. Jamie Day up to 4th, goes 1 row further up the grid. Alexander Hartwig, who we saw last year was quick in Porsches but rather unlucky, he has just done the absolute best within the first sector. We've gone past the halfway point within Q1. And there is Hartwig for Allied Racing. Comes now down into the right-hander that loops the car into the stadium up towards the Sachs Curve now, which for this weekend is turn 13. Quite a lot of the little kinks into corners here, given their own corner number, depending on whose map you look. But up into turn 16, the line effectively makes it 1 corner, but it's notionally 2 on the map. And now over the line comes Hartvig. So Henrik Still's Porsche is the fastest. Hartvig breaks the beam and does second fastest lap time. So it's an all Porsche front row, 48 thousandths between them. There, number 74 is Victor Weyrich. Another man in a big hurry. So a race winner this year at Paul Ricard. That was with Konstantin Lachenauer. Now he drives with Matteo Villagomez. So a shuffle of drivers within the racing spirit of Le Mans lineup. And Victor Weyrich fourth at the start of the lap. 2 personal bests, stays fourth. Antoine Leclerc got excited about a while ago. He lost his lap time, so he doesn't have one to his name at the moment. Sacha Botterman, another quick driver out of the French Championship, coming down towards the stadium. And Porsche's looking strong numerically, but that is an Audi off the road in the stadium. It could even be the Benjamin Lariche Robert Consonny entry. He's brought out a yellow flag. Now, if qualifying is stopped because of the curfew, we wouldn't have a continuation. The clock would carry on ticking. It is 83, Julian Rodriguez in the gravel, who, remember, had already lost his best lap time for speeding in the pit lane. The red flag is shown. That is Rodriguez getting it well out of kilter, and the gravel doing its job, but unfortunately ensnaring him. Now, the clock carries on ticking. Normally, for qualifying, the clock stops. The curfew here is so tight, the onus put on the drivers, we won't be adding the time on, so keep out of trouble. But unfortunately, what they have done is get themselves into trouble. So all of this is eating into the session. Super slow-mo shot here of the track limit. This is Henrik Still coming through turn 16. Bounces over that little banana curb on the outside. And you can see the load that goes through the car. Slow it down again. Rattle over that corrugated curb. Out wide he goes. 2 wheels on the green, but all 4 behind the white line. But avoids the gravel. And Julian Rodriguez did not avoid the gravel, and there he is, causing a red flag. So the problem that the teams have here is that all of this eats into the available 20 minutes, which is pretty brief to start with. And so now time lost, so they're going to have to go back out. Everybody will go back out. It'll be once more traffic affected. So Julian Rodriguez isn't going to be very popular, that's for sure, for interrupting the session like this. I wonder whether, given how limited the time allowed is going to be when we do resume, that everybody's going to go back out, whether some will think, no, we're not going to be able to improve, we'll get set for Q2 now, put the second driver in. Here is number 5, Jamie Day, coming through turn 16, and slides it out wide, a little bit sideways as he bumped over the curb. You see the bodywork flap and then bounces back over the curbs. All the engineers that are watching all of this at the Mirage Racing camp turn away because they don't like to see their car being abused, but it shows you what the cars go through, corner after corner. And you think it looks spectacular at full speed, but perhaps even more so in super slow-mo. Great shot, that. Josh Rattigan's McLaren, 3rd for Elite, but we've got 5.5 minutes on the clock. Now, Julian Rodriguez's car is out of the gravel, so we are good, I think, to get things back underway pretty shortly. There is the Audi. Still, you've got cars coming back into the pit lane. But the session having to be stopped in order to let the marshals get to the car. So the Audi looks undamaged. As we'd seen, it was a relatively harmless spin. The only harm being that it cost them a chance of going back out, potentially, although it drives back to the pit lane. And it does eat into the session. Less than 5 minutes of Q1 to go. Remember that Q1 determines the grid for the first of the races this weekend. So 83 comes down the pit lane, and very shortly we ought to be able to get the session back underway with 4 minutes and change on the clock. So it's going to be an outlap and 1 flyer. I do question whether the teams, well, some are determined to do it, some are going for it, but I do wonder whether everybody's going to take advantage or consider it not really worthwhile. Out they come. So the brave ones out for one roll of the dice really here. See whether they can improve the lap, but not everybody doing so. I'm surprised actually with how many are going out, but not everybody venturing onto the track. This is the Becquet Besler BMW. Greg Gilbert and Antoine Leclerc and Ivan Jacoma have yet to do a proper lap time because Gilbert is last in terms of the time. Leclerc and Jacoma don't even have one. Right, 83, which has lost its best lap time for speeding in the pit lane, has now lost its second best lap for causing the red flag. When it's not your day, it is not your day. But that's the steward's decision then over the Julian Rodriguez car. So 42, Greg Gilbert, number 36, the Alpine of Antoine Leclerc, and 75, the Cayman, the Porsche Cayman of Ivan Jacoma. They're the ones to watch now with really one opportunity to put in a lap. There is Greg Gilbert, who we know is fast. Race winner in the past, champion in the past, and one make Peugeot champion as well, going back quite a long, long time. So Greg Gilbert up now towards the turn 16 into 17 right-hander. And you see the way that he was lagging back just a little bit. Now he pulls the trigger, sprints up towards the line. This is a very important lap indeed, so let's follow it if we can. Greg Gilbert comes down towards turn 1, which is another key part of the lap for track limits. He needs to not run wide and lose this. This has got to be absolutely inch perfect up towards turn 2. Road just dips slightly. Of course, in the old days, you would go hammering out into the woods, but the circuit changed probably about 20 years ago now. It feels recent, but it's a long while ago. This cut through around the back of the paddock, including this very, very fast parabolica, speed building all the way now through this long, long left, turn 4, at the end of which is the Spitzkehrer with new tarmac, bit of resurfacing, only into and round the corner, not the whole lap, just this one section for this season. Very heavy braking zone, very tight corner, good overtaking opportunity. Get it wrong and it can cause problems. Back on the power now, down towards the first of the two arenas, if you like. Turn 7, tricky corner, but this takes you down towards another heavy braking zone, another overtaking opportunity in front of the Mercedes gallery, and a lock up there by Gilbert. Missed the braking point, car just ran a little bit wide, so it's not going to be a mega lap this. It's going to move him up, and he needs to move up, but I don't think it's going to be quite the best. But what he needed was a banker lap that he should get, and there might be one more to come. There's still time, I reckon, for one further lap for Gilbert come the end of this. Here he comes, then up now towards the end of the lap. So anything in the 46s is really good, 47s is okay, and we'll get him up to where he wants to be. 2 wheels up the curb, that's all good. Heading towards the line, so Greg Gilbert with the clock ticking on down. 45s, 46s, a 46 he wants, a 47 he can cope with, and the net result is he goes only 29th fastest on a 1:48.069, but he just squeezed through with one more lap in the system. Leclerc comes through, he's up to 19, that gets him out of jail. And it also puts to the bottom of the times now, number 31, Vasily Vladikin with his Porsche. So, Antoine Leclerc up towards turn 2. This is Vladikin to see whether he can improve over and above Julian Rodriguez, who has lost his 2 top laps and therefore goes to the back of the grid. 31 Porsche. Cayman, the 718 iteration of the Cayman, wriggling its way through traffic, and will take the checkered flag this time. So session done, session at an end. Vasily Vladikin looking to improve, and could do, because he did 2 personal bests. He goes over the timing line, and he does improve up to 39th, so good effort. And Antoine Leclerc has lost his lap time again, because Leclerc is back to the bottom of the time. So Antoine Leclerc has got one more opportunity, not just to do a lap, but to keep it within the lines. Benjamin Lariche here up towards the end of the lap, 9th fastest, number 3 Audi. And has done the absolute best, as you see, in the middle sector. So this looks good for Lariche right now. Way, way off the racetrack there has got one of the Porsches, which is going to spin back onto the road. and end up on the line just ahead of Lariche, which was the last thing he needed. Everybody has managed to avoid the errant Porsche, which I think was Sasha Bottomant's car, 43. It rejoins, spitting gravel everywhere. So Benjamin Lariche, with his eyes out like chapel hat pegs, comes up towards the end of the lap, but he might well have bought it, given that he had that spinning car ahead, and he does. So Lariche, with a personal and an absolute best on that, can feel pretty miffed that ultimately it was taken away by a spinning car. Antoine Leclerc goes through and goes up to 39th, and let's hope that he keeps that. So lively session, with the stoppage, of course, affecting things for one or two of the drivers. And Antoine Leclerc making his way round. Hendrik still the fastest come the end. He wasn't bested in that second part of the session. And number 110, Paul Caupe, who was quick early on, ending up 7th. So now there's a reset and put the next driver on board. Here we go again for the grid for the second of the races of the weekend. That's the replay of Sasha Bottomant's dramas right in front of Benjamin Lariche, who should have been on, if not for pole, for an improvement. But as the Porsche bounced back onto the road ahead of him, there was just nothing he could do. So 22 Porsche will be away in a moment, and this time we'll have Nathan Schaap at the wheel. But at the end of Q1, Hendrik still is the fastest from Alexander Hartwig, and then Josh Rattigan, Victor Weyrich 4th, Jamie Day, Ivan Ekelchik 6th ahead of Paul Caupe, Kenny Heremans we didn't see much of in the V8 Racing Chevrolet, but he's 8th ahead of Benjamin Lariche, and Ricardo Dort Porsche completing the top 10. Martin Fulgentrio 11th from Julien Piguet, and Dakota Dickerson going nicely to be 13th, first time here, from Paul Petit, and then Antoine Beltoise, Antoine Potty a long way back ahead of Julien Brichet. Then it is Stefan Bostangief ahead of Laurent Hergon, Denis Bulatov 20th from Andreas Bachmann, but Michael Schrei a long way down, only 22nd from Stanislav Safronov. Then Tom Leben from Oscar Christensen and Bailey Voisin, Philip Vava from Akil Rabindra, from Alexandra Papadopoulos, and Greg Gilbert. Some big names a long way down the order. Now let us hear from Hendrik still, fastest by 48 thousandths of a second, and he is with Gemma Scott.
Hendrik, that looked like a very busy session, but congratulations for your pole.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I'm so happy, so proud of all the team. So unbelievable. To be honest, it's my first pole position in GT4 European. We were fighting so long now for it, and yeah, now and with this gap, I mean, we see Porsche is very strong here in Hockenheim. BOP is not so bad, to be honest. But unbelievable, I mean, first pole position.
And to do that at home must mean a huge amount.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So very happy Hendrik still, who is a very quick but very underrated driver, and a good effort. This was the car being given a workover. But the Porsche that's operated by the W&S Motorsport team now given over to Max Kronberg. And let's see what he can do. So Q1, Hendrik still fastest, and the time 1 minute 46.398. That becomes the target. Not that it can be improved upon, but just for the purposes of interest, really, to see what the drivers that are going out next will be able to do. So GT4, which has been a fantastic concept. It was a slow burn. Took a number of seasons really for it to kick in. And when it did, it's gone from strength to strength, not only with the European Series, but there's a strong class within British GT, a strong class within GT World Challenge Asia. It's very strong in America, and also in Germany. And, of course, the French Championship runs exclusively for GT4 regulations. So it's been another source of income for teams, a source of sales for the manufacturers, but perhaps from our side of things, seen great racing as well. There is the scene in the pit lane as drivers clamber on board. set of tyres onto number 43, which is the Jean-Laurent Navarro Porsche, the car that Sacha Bottomin spun, so no wonder it wants some new tyres. And we'll be ready to go very shortly indeed. We've got about 3.5 minutes or so before the cars are released, back on track. There you've got the Manuel Villagomez Aston Martin, just composing himself in his mind, thinking around the lap, on the gears, on the braking points. And then, very shortly, Mathieu Villagomez will blast out. Robert Consani takes over from Benjamin-Lariche. Two very quick Audi pedalers for Team Speedcar out of the Silver Cup. And there, Alban Varuti, who has tended to drive solo this weekend, reunited with Julien Piguet, with whom he took 2 wins at Monza, and indeed a win at Misano, but he did the Paul Ricard and Spa races on his own and took 3 out of 4 wins there as a soloist. But Alban Varuti, another driver to watch in the Porsche that runs in the AM competition. 83 good to go. That's the Team Speed car Audi, the second of the cars. Julian Rodriguez, having plonked it in the gravel, now gives way to Fabian Bury, who will be perhaps calmer going down the pit lane. Right, the fast lane is open then, so that gives the teams the chance to release the cars. They can queue up, try to gain track position, ready for the session getting underway for real. Number 36, Alpine, ready to go. That is Jean-Bernard Bouvet, joining Antoine Leclerc. After a little bit of debate about the driver grading of Loic Villiger, a change came, and so Jean-Bernard Bouvet brought into that Pro-Am seat. Number 8, good to go, which will now be driven by Etienne Shelley, taking over from Antoine Potti in the Toyota. There's the back of the Cayman, one of the many. And now Pavel Levdorov taking over from Stefan Bostangiv, ready to go. 78 McLaren, now with Alex Denning at the wheel of the car, another quick Brit. That's another car that will head to the track very shortly, because we are about 1 minute away from the session going live then. Those McLaren Arturas that the elite squad runs. I think I'm right in saying that's the only McLaren representation this weekend, to add to BMW, to Audi, to Mercedes, to Aston Martin, to Toyota, to Chevrolet, and to Alpine as well. Gabriele Piano I would offer you as a man to watch as well, because Michael Schrei, who is not as quick as Gabriele, didn't really shine in Q1, and so Gabriele Piano, who we know is a very rapid driver, has got a bit of pressure on him now to put the car up at the pointy end of the grid for the start of race 2, and also, of course, to haul it through the field when we go racing at the end of today. So shortly, we'll have the cars released. And then out on track. Yes, green flag now is shown at the end of the pit lane, so we are in business. Out they come. Ready for this second qualifying session for this weekend's GT4 European Series. Number 12 BMW leaving it late in a sense, that being Tom Edgar at the wheel. So a number of the teams biding their time, trying to let others go. Right, away now goes Tom Edgar. Number 36, Antoine Leclerc, is under investigation for possibly overtaking under a yellow flag in Q1. So kind of going into the when it's not your day, it's not your day heading there. We lost repeated lap times for track limit abuses anyway. So back on track, 18 minutes and change on the clock as the drivers come to the end of an outlap. See the very fast straight down towards the stadium, and if you take out all the stadium sections, you've got the drag strip effectively that links this part of the circuit all the way up to the Spitzkehre. So to the pit lane comes one of the Porsches. To the timing line goes number 72, which is the GPA Racing Florent Grisot driven Aston Martin. That goes by, and 1 or 2 very, very slow, trying to let the car ahead go, and those that are on a quick lap, like the silver and blue BMW of Gabriele Piana there, is now going to have to weave almost like a video game through the traffic. Piana is on his toes straight away, as he needs to be to get the Hoffel Racing by Bonk Motorsport car up the order. So this is Piana, hard at work. Through the traffic he carves, and he's trying to take advantage of being quick while others are still crawling round, gambling on doing it now and hoping that the traffic sees him coming and gets out of the way. And actually thus far they're being pretty well behaved. Robert Constantini is the man alongside him, and the BMW that towers over the Audi goes through. Car then now of Piana comes up towards the approach to the stadium. Track limit warnings are coming. Right there you can see slow cars almost tripping over themselves. Jagish Gedik trying to let the Audi ahead of him go. That is the Christophe Amon driven Audi. Again looking for clear track space. Gedik gets past and now eases his pace to control the traffic around him. In other words, nobody wants to go past him because they'll get themselves caught up, and he can slow right down and let the Mercedes of the NM Racing team there just up the road ahead get away. So again, Gedik slows right down. And now, as the drivers come out of turn 17, they kind of, if you like, pull the trigger and now go for it, go for a quick lap. Lucas Meyer looking good in the sectors. He's done 2 absolute bests. Piana has done a 154.1. And it's a 46.3 that we're looking at as the target. This is Lucas Meyer up towards the line in the car that he shares with Denis Bulatov, and will go by now, and is the fastest on a 1 minute 50.578. There's more to come from that car, but he is there at the moment at the top of the times. Simon Thurman taking over from Paul Caupe in the Alpine, getting himself onto the back of Piana here, so he's second in the time, Simon Thurman. BMW versus Alpine then as they thread their way up into the stadium. The BMW booms past the microphone on the wall and now flings itself into the stadium. Coming out of turn 12, the Mobile 1 Curva, and that is Timon getting it way, way wide. Doesn't fight the car and risks spinning it. He sort of lets it run its own course and eventually bounces its way back towards the tarmac. Got a wasted lap, having done 2 absolute bests. So Simon Thurman throws away that lap, and he'll be very disappointed, to say the least, in all of that. Tom Edgar, the British driver in the meantime, coming down towards the stadium. Right, second fastest now, number 48, which is the GPA Aston of Emil Heyerdahl, sharing with Bailey Voisin. Now Ruben Delsart goes up to second, ahead of Philip Gogelok. So Tom Edgar hustles the BMW into the stadium. 21st he is at the moment. We've got Dante Raponge in the Chevrolet, having done an absolute best in the middle. So the order is set to shuffle as every car comes across the line really now, with almost the midpoint of the session reached. This is Tom Edgar then up towards the line. 25th he was, 26th he is, 7th he becomes as he goes over the line. So Tom Edgar goes ahead of the sister car of Jagish Gedich. And Dante Raponge goes fastest in the Chevrolet, 147.3. So about a second down on what we had in Q1. Luc Ibanev now goes up to second, ahead of Gabriele Piana down to third. But there is Piana, and he's done an absolute and a personal best. So the very, very attractively liveried BMW heading towards the line. Gabriele Piana hustles it up towards the timing line and will come through. The car's down to fourth behind Villa Gomez. At the end of the lap, it goes fastest of all then. So Gabriele Piana, 147.123, assuming the lap stands. He was a little bit wide coming out of turn 17. That's Ruben Delsart taking over from Jamie Day. Another quick-looking car, that. And right now, Ruben Delsart's 7th in the times. Dante Raponge hustling on. He's second. Where's the Chevrolet? There's the Chevrolet doing an absolute best middle sector. So, Dante Raponge, second season of GT4 racing. Brother Jos drove the car. Jon drove the car previously. Now, the other one to watch, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who was quickest in pre-qualifying, taking over from Ivan Ekocic, 37th at the moment, number 94 Porsche. But there's more to come from that. Another improvement has just been posted by Mikael Loboda, with his Cayman to go fourth, and 23, the Pavel Lefter of Porsche, goes second. Right, over the timing line, Alban Maruti is 10th, and this is Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Raponge fastest again, by the way, 146.773. Nikolai Moller-Madsen wide over the curb. We had briefly a yellow flag at turn 1, but that's been withdrawn, so the road is clear again. Lap time cancelled for Florian Brichet. And Nikolai Moller-Madsen hustles on. The spin for the yellow flag, by the way, came from Jean-Laurent Navarro. So anything Sacha Botterman can do, Navarro can do as well. In other words, a spin for both drivers over qualifying. Moller-Madsen to the line, 42nd, goes third. Really good effort there. Nikolai Moller-Madsen up to third fastest. 4/10 down on Dante Raponge. There, bouncing it over the curb is Robert Consani, but he's only 8th in the times. So up towards the end of a lap comes number 74, Mathieu Villagomez, who's been up and down the order a bit, 9th at the moment. That's largely as others have gone quicker, and he's lost a little bit of ground in the middle sector on this lap. 9 minutes and change on the clock now. Another one looking quick, Max Kronberg, in the car that Hendrik Still put on pole for race 1. Right, so Villagomez first up, taking over from Victor Weyrich. So Mathieu Villagomez up towards the line and breaks the beam. 11th he had become, and second fastest he is now. So that pushes Piana, who is in the pits, down to the second row. Waiting for Max Kronberg's Porsche, there it is in the background, to come through. They've also got Nikolai Moller-Madsen looking quick. What does Kronberg do? He only goes 16th, so didn't really improve markedly on that lap. But Nikolai Moller-Madsen's Porsche is the next one of note. It's in the last sector. It's coming up towards the timing line now, and Nikolai Moller-Madsen has just gone over the line up to third fastest, up to second fastest in fact, so second fastest Moller-Madsen. There is the yellow and white Porsche. So Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the Dane, silver champion a few years ago, up now to second in the times, and he's only 60 thousandths shy of Dante Rapponge, so it looks like it's going to be a very close fight as ever within GT4 here. Jean-Bernard Bouvet goes through, 8 minutes on the clock now. So Bouvet through. Personal best in the first sector. Best of the Pro-Ams at the moment is Christophe Amon after Greg Gilvert's travails to get in a good lap in Q1. Amon's got on with the programme nicely, fourth he is, and the best of the AMs is 442, the WNS Gustave Xavier Porsche that Charles Dawson drove in the earlier session, and that is 14th. Right, Jean-Bernard Bouvet 20th in the little Alpine. Alex Denning, surprisingly, is the slowest at the moment in the elite McLaren. We've got a bit of dust settling in the stadium. There are more heading for the pit lane with 7 minutes on the clock still. And there, together, Porsche and Alpine, showing that the balanced performance for GT4 cars works nicely. Come through. They're not a totally dissimilar shape. I do like the Alpine. It's got the echoes of the 1960s shape within it, a kind of modern classic. And also there you've got the Toyota Supra. That's the Antoine Potti, Etienne Shelley car. Etienne at the wheel, but only 19th. The Supra having a pretty torrid time here. Number 78, Alex Denning, gained 1 place last time, moving himself up ahead of Jean-Paul Dominici. But there's more to come from that McLaren, just as there is more to come from the Jagish Gaidic BMW that's rather struggling at the moment, only 36th in the times. So Dante Rapponge ahead of Nikolai Moller-Madsen, ahead of Mathieu Villagomez, fourth fastest now, number 22, which is Nathan Schaap. Fifth is Christophe Amon, still on class pole position, and sixth is Ibanez. Blue flag shown to the traffic, and 1 or 2 drivers, by the look of it, calling it a session. So Dante Rapponge in the pit lane may elect not to go back out, just under 6 minutes to go, and if he's confident that the car's going to remain up at the front of the grid, then that's it, work done. '35 Hugo de Sadelier, very experienced sports car racer, had a spell with the United Autosport squad. Father Stanislas de Sadelier, GT racer of the 1990s. I think Hugo, ex-Formula Renault racer from memory, came into the North European Cup. So makes his way, having let traffic go up towards the line. 5 minutes still to go. So the little Alpine, very successful car in GT4 terms, heads towards the timing line once again. So there's Gabriele Piana, back out again as you see, and has fallen down the order quite a bit now. Down to 18th fastest, so a good lap absolutely essential now with 4 minutes and a bit remaining. Goes through the traffic up towards the Schwitzkehrer. Now others are heading for the pit lane, so the road is getting fractionally calmer and quieter, which might just play into his hands a little bit here, we'll see. through goes Piana. Now this lap is not a mega one, as you see, he's down in the first sector, probably because of traffic. So he wants to try to piece all this together again going into the next lap as more and more drivers come for the pit lane. And off into the gravel, coming into the stadium, one of the Astons by the look of it. That, with 3 minutes on the clock, let's see, he's got the car going, and as long as it doesn't bog down, and it is bogging, isn't it? It's going, it's going, it's going. Trying to haul it out of the gravel bed is Florent Grisot, and I think he's just about done it, because I can see from the window that he's got to the tarmac, so that is good news, in as much as we don't therefore have to fret about the session being interrupted. The car out of the gravel. There it is. Florent Grisot rejoins, but things like that aren't going to help the likes of Piana, who is desperate to try and get in a proper lap before the very end. So Raponge, Moller, Madsen, Sharp and Ibanez, the top four, they're all in the pits. This was how into the gravel fell Grisot. And he was able to drive the car out. There you can see gravel spat from the back of it, but he's back on track and heading to the pit lane once more. But effectively his session is done now. That's him heading for the pit road. So there, Piana in the traffic. Checkered flag. Not this lap, he's got one more that he can wring out of the session. Personal best sector 1, a little bit down in sector 2, and heads now towards the line. So Piana needing to get the car up from 18th. It's not been a good session for BMWs, really. Either Q1 nor Q2. He goes 16th, so that lap in the end was 9/10ths down on what he needed. But the road is getting quieter, as you can see. There's less ahead of him now, so maybe there is an opportunity on this lap for Piana to have an improvement. We'll get an idea, really, when he comes out of the first sector, and he is in that at the moment. So as more and more drivers come for the pit lane, Gabriele Piana accelerates towards a virtually empty Spitzkehrer. Into the hairpin, and Piana personal best in sector 1. And when you're talking about thousandths as the margin, 16 thousandths between the top two, 12 thousandths lower down, and we've got two drivers on an absolutely identical time for 34th and 35th, then a tenth of a second really does matter. Here comes Piana into the end of the middle sector. Robert Constantly behind him is not improving in relation. So Piana comes out of turn 9. He'll get the checkered flag this time and has lost a big chunk of time in the middle. So very, very few takers for the flag in real terms. The majority already in the pit lane. Piana is the one of note, not only as multiple race winner, but also as the Silver Championship leaders. But in fairness, what this is proving is that it wasn't only Michael Schrei that was struggling, because as you can see, Gabriele Piana also not being able to find the pace. And second in the championship in silver, Beke Besler and Tom Edgar. Well, that car's 21st, so it's not a BMW circuit under the BOP. Piana does not improve, stays 16th. It was a better lap than the last one, but it wasn't an improvement, and he gave the car a good workover, as you can see in that fantastic super slow-mo. The left front wheel oscillating and almost looking like it's disconnected at one point, so hard was it being used. That was 16 into 17, where slow it down. You can see him aim for the curb as the line carries him way out over the white line. but Gabriele Piana having to get that car by the scruff in order to get anything like a good lap time out of it. So there'll be frustration for sure at the Hofer by Bonk Motorsport team. Dante Raponge then is the fastest, and Gemma Scott is down there. Dante fastest by just 16 thousandths of a second.
Dante, you're looking a bit hot. You said that was hard work, but that is your first GT4 pole. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Very happy about it. And it was quite hard work, but the lap was good. I made some mistakes even in the final sector, but it was good enough to get P1, so I'm very happy.
And of course, now to convert that through in the race tomorrow.
Hopefully, hopefully. Today we need to score some good points with Kenny. We will do. And then tomorrow we need to secure the win, hopefully.
Keep pushing. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good, isn't it, as well, to see young drivers coming through GT4. It's a great stepping stone to GT3 racing and onwards. And good to have the Chevrolet taking a rare pole position. I don't mean that rudely, but there's so much opposition. To get a pole is a very, very well-earned status in this championship. Henrik Still saying it was his first at the end of Q1. And of course, that's a driver that has been around the block for a number of seasons, knows exactly what he's doing. So illustrating again just how hard it is to take a pole position, and those margins of thousandths of a second continue to illustrate that as well. So let's look at the order. This is for tomorrow's grid, barring any penalties that lurk. Kenny Herreman's ahead of, Dante Raponge ahead of Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Then Nathan Sharp third from Luc Ibanez and Pavel Lefterov. Mikael Loboda next, Robert Consigny, Philippe Godaloc, and Christophe Amon taking a not class pole in the end, but second behind Mikael Loboda. 10th was Alban Baruti. He's the quickest of the AMs. Then Mathieu Villagomez, Ruben Del Sart from Gustavo Xavier. Max Kronberg in the pole for Q1 car, only 14th from Emil Heyerdahl. Then Gabriele Piana a long way back from Tom Emson and Sergio Paulet. Etienne Chaly next from Jean-Bernard Bouvet and Tom Edgar. Hugo de Sandelier outpaced Jessica Bachmann and Simon Thurman after his gravelly moment. Florian Brichet was ahead of Jordan Wallace, Joachim Bolting, Jean-Laurent Navarro rather, then Florent Grisot after his spin, and Alain Ferte down in 30th. 31st was the Audi of Cyril Salai, ahead of Nicky Leutwiler and then Lucas Meyer. Fabien Brewery next, and behind Brewery was Marc Lopez. Then we had Alexander Weintraub. Rodri Guillon was ahead of Jagish Gaidik, a long, long way back for a normally quick car. The BM's really struggling. Jakob Noll next from Paolo Maloney, and then Marcus Lundstrass, Taylor Hagler. 42nd from Alex Denning, and then Jean-Paul Dominici to round out the order. Highlights of qualifying then in the sunshine here at Hockenheim. Drivers venturing out for their first run, and the spirits of Le Mans Aston Martin doing good times early on with Victor Weyrich at the wheel. 77 McLaren, Josh Rattigan also quick at the beginning of the first of the two segments of qualifying. But the Porsches started to come into their stride with the Alexander Hartvig car, looking good in Q1, but not as good as Henrik Still. We then had this big lurid moment from another of the Porsches, Sacha Bottemann, bouncing through the gravel, and then eventually the back overtook the front, and around he went right in front of Benjamin Lariche in the Audi that cost him a chance of being able to threaten this car, the Porsche of Henrik Still, for pole position. In the end, it was Henrik Still the quickest, as the drivers then pitted and swapped to their co-drivers for Q2, and early times offered up by Lucas Meyer in the Mercedes AMG. Gabriele Piana was looking good, but not good enough. That car struggling for pace, and so the championship leaders needing to find something going into the first race this afternoon. Pole for race 2 though to the Grunt & Go Chevrolet. Dante Raponge at the wheel, a bit ahead of this Porsche of Nikolai Moller-Madsen, and builds us up nicely for today's race, which will be on air at 4:45, and we look forward to your company then. Bye for now.